It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
And welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome.
August 21st.
Yes, it is.
I looked it up. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good. Steve Poncelmo with Mystery Mark. Yet another episode of Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. And also, he's doing what he did last year. So if you guys go to TheDartzone.com and you buy pink shafts and flights, he'll give you a discount for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is coming up.
Oh, nice.
So if you guys want to, use pink shafts and flights during the month of October, a lot of action in October, I think everybody would appreciate that. Also, thanks Redwood Darts and Windy City Fabricators. I am just beyond belief steaming. And I am and I told you briefly, why I'm steaming, but I can't believe that I'm as mad as I am.
I can. You seem to get irritated easily.
Lately, I don't know what maybe it's like, end of summer, or kind of like it's, too much time in the humidity or something. I don't know. Missed too many doubles or something. I don't know. In a bad mood.
Combination of all of it.
But I did promise we would start the show with apologies and corrections. And I don't blame us for this, but we miscommunicated results from Stanford.
Okay.
So right off the bat, congrats to Dave Walsh and Levi Remick. They made top 4 in the 501 doubles, and not whoever we said. So congrats, guys.
Fair enough.
Congrats, guys. Well played. And also, I just want to give another shout-out to Darts Around the World.
All right.
And, unfortunately, I don't listen to their show as often as I can, and I never get on there live because, we got the Wednesday night thing going here. And we had to move the show and everything. But aside from the fact that they do a good show, they have been, especially Evan, has been extremely helpful helping us do this show, especially doing the transition, before we moved over here, telling me where to plug in wires,
right,
which wires to get, and all this stuff. And I was kind of goofing on Evan last week. So those guys have been awesome to us, and we truly do appreciate it. And you guys should, listen to their show when you can.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely edifying, I would think.
Nice word.
Like that?
Yeah.
Edifying. So anyway,
right,
just another thanks to Darts Around the World. I hope they had a happy birthday in Stanford. I know they were there. Everything else is just
do you want
to
what's the
Where's
beginning?
The disclaimer?
I don't know.
Do we not have one?
Wherever your piece of it's probably over there somewhere.
Oh gosh. You mean we can't find the disclaimer? We're going to be on the
I
hook
don't
for
have
everything we say.
I don't have it memorized.
Really? That's hard to believe.
So you got to have it somewhere. I'm playing Cog Hill tomorrow.
Number 4?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Pack a lunch.
2:00 in the afternoon. Bring 2 dozen golf balls.
I'm
kind of excited about that.
I don't even know what to tell you about that. Here you go. Here, have a disclaimer on me.
All right. The views and opinions expressed or implied by guests and or hosts on Dark Talk do not prima facie represent the universe of thought or of the aforementioned, notwithstanding their permissions and exclusions set forth below. Any enjoiners, rejoiners, litanies, epiphanies, demurrers, Todd doers, past or future acts or facts not presently in evidence, either in or around the underworld, the oversoul, or any other copyrighted Fantasyland, Candyland, or neutral party to the agreements and understandings set forth in this or any related memoranda will not perish from this show.
Well done. I didn't listen to a word of it, but
we're off the hook.
It sounded totally lucid, and if I do say so myself, well written, well conceived, and by you, well executed.
There you go.
I was going to preview. There's 2 big tournaments this week.
Yeah.
Neither of which I'm playing in. So maybe that's why.
Maybe that's why you're upset. Why are you not your prior commitments?
Well, what I told myself was if I didn't stink it up in Chicago, I'd go to London.
Right.
Well, I stunk it up in Chicago, so I'm not going to London, and now I am really regretting it because I'm actually playing really, really well. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
And another source of my terminal aggravation. 146 players signed up for London this week.
That's awesome.
Way more than we had in Chicago.
What was in Chicago? About 80?
No, I think it was more than that. I think it was like 106. So
Oh,
they got
okay.
40 more people,
Yeah,
but they're
which
going
is
to
a lot.
have they're going to have like 80 less Americans or something like that. So that means that they've got 120 Canadians playing. So it occurs to me that at some point the PDC is going to look at the numbers and say, what do we have in tournaments in Chicago for?
Well, it was also only the first one. Maybe it'll be better next year. You can only hope.
Somebody posted something about they had a successful tournament somewhere that was like 10,000 and they wanted to make it 20,000. And I kind of said, you know what, or make it 15,000. And I'm like, you know what, unless your people are going to come out, don't do it. Because I am on the contraction bandwagon right now when it comes to some of these tournaments, and I can explain that as soon as I cough. So say something.
The contraction bandwagon.
The contraction bandwagon.
Yeah.
You know what contraction is?
I do.
Right? It's like do
Right.
not becomes do not with an apostrophe. Well, no, and I don't even want to get into this.
All right. Well,
Well-
let's get into something else.
We let's update
All right. Well,
the
so go back
orders
to
of merit.
what's the other tournament that you're not going to?
Well, that's Dartslive in Hong Kong,
Oh, okay.
Stage 6. And I tried to get a list to see which Americans were going because I'm pretty sure, with the exception of, well, Chris White's one of those kind of, I'm not, he lives in America, but he's Canadian. So I don't know whether he's Canadian or American, but he's going to be in London. Ray Carver's going to be in London. But then I think like Benny Dersch, Johnny KOB. See, everybody's kind of split.
Yeah.
So some people are going to London, some people are going to Stage 6. So, that means I have to be up at 4 a.m. Sunday to watch the soft tip because they stream it live on Ustream. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that since, I'm playing in the one in Vegas, and I finally got a partner and everything now. So now I just need a partner for Atlantic City if anybody's looking, since apparently Ralph McCool's blowing me off. So. That's another source of my aggravation. When you ask somebody in public on Facebook if they're going to be partners and you get nothing back from but dead silence, it's kind of like, oh, gee, really? Okay, well, thanks.
Well, next time just use the phone.
So I'm not the worst doubles partner you can get. I show up to the board on time. We were going to update the orders of merit. So we have the NAPTA women,
Okay.
which just actually came out. We haven't really mentioned it, so let me bring this up. I guess do the top 10. Let's do the top 10 NAPTA
For
women.
NAPTA
here.
women?
For the NAPTA women, yeah. So start with 10.
Starting with the 10th is Paula Murphy, Brenda Rausch 9, Shea Reynolds 8, Sandy Hudson 7, Marilyn Pop 6, Stacy Bromberg 5th, Robin Curry 4th, Trish Gressick 3rd, Cindy Party 2nd, and Callie West is leading the NAPTA rankings.
Callie West is leading the NAPTA rankings. And I kind of wonder about that, and I should ask the NAPTA guys whether the money I believe Stacy was in the money in Chicago. Whether that's going to count on the ladies' part or not. Because Trish and Stacy, and I think Cindy Party, all played in the men's side. I wonder if you play in the Open, if it counts on the ladies, or if that's just ladies only. I don't know.
I don't know, but I don't know if she was in the money because she just won 2 matches, but that would have only gotten her top 32. And I think they only paid top 16.
Top 16, so you had to win your board final.
Right, so I don't think she got in the money anyway.
All right, well, Callie West number 1, Cindy Party number 2. The gaps here on the points aren't as extreme as on the men. When you see the men, Darren's like head and shoulders above everybody else.
Still.
So, well, he's won all the big stuff. I mean, and I was... I'm just so aggravated all the time now. But the idea, you want to do the men?
Sure.
Okay.
Number 10, Sean Brenneman. Number 9, Brandon Rogers. Gordon Dixon's 8th. Terry Hayhurst 7th. Steve Penuncielman 6th. Jim Widmeyer 5th. Tom Sawyer 4th. Bob Sneeve 3rd. Larry Butler 2nd. And Darren Young is leading in points for the NAFTA men.
Right, but if you look at the...
Larry Butler closed the gap a lot.
Well, yeah, but I don't think they have the PDC money in there.
Oh.
So I think that, Darren's going to be like way, way, way ahead.
The difference between 4th and 5th is
Look
astronomical.
At that. It's more than double.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got 4 guys that are kind of, actually, Darren and Larry are close for 1st, and Bob and Tom are close for 3rd, and then everybody else is just sort of like
running behind the
eating
pack.
dust, choking on the exhaust,
Yeah.
however you put it. So, but I was thinking, I'm already thinking about next year, because next year is going to be complicated. In golf, or in pretty much any sport, you have, if you don't have a national championship, like a true national championship like Canada has, then you have like majors. Like in golf,
Right.
you got the Masters, U.S. Open, British Open, what have you. In tennis, it's kind of the same deal. In football and baseball and hockey, you have a championship.
Well, golf has it now.
What, like the
FedEx Cup?
Oh, please.
Anyway, so
I'm thinking we should either sponsor our own championship next year, or figure out what the top 4 tournaments are, and make them like the be all and end all. Make them the majors, and then have some sort of, because we gave out awards last year. We gave like most outstanding player, and we gave out best newcomer, and we gave out something else.
I don't remember.
Oh, it was player of the year.
Yeah.
Most outstanding player, where you included doubles, and then we had newcomer of the year, and we did outstanding player and top player for the men and women, right? And then we had one newcomer of the year last year.
Right.
And I'm thinking maybe we should like designate which tournaments are going to be the majors, and then say these are the ones that count the most, and if you're not there, then, no whining. You know what? Don't be bragging that you're a player if you don't show up at the big tournaments and play. Which isn't really fair, because, people have schedules, and, there's only so many tournaments you can go to, and everyone prioritizes them differently.
Right.
But at the same time, I mean, it's like certain tournaments, if you're not there, it's like I don't know too many pro golfers that skip the U.S. Open. I mean, maybe they don't qualify.
They might, yeah.
But they're not skipping it because they have something better to do, right?
Exactly.
So, what is it now? It's middle of August. It's one more month and summer's over. So we're already talking about next year. What are the 4 biggest tournaments next year that you could circle on your calendar and say, okay, these 4 tournaments are going to be the majors, and these are the ones that are going to count for something? You know what I mean?
I'm sure we could figure that out.
Well, because it's kind
Nobody's
of
going to be 100%.
Well, because I'm about to rip somebody in a very serious way, because I actually had time. I didn't play this weekend. I had time to do a little research.
Okay.
So, I'm taking one of my breakfast companions to task here, because, well, here's the thing. Okay, so what the ADO does is they designate 6 singles events as WDF events, and then these count as for WDF points, which get you, if you have 10 WDF points and $2.14 at Starbucks, you can get a grande coffee and a venti cup.
Okay.
Or you can use 50 WDF points and $2.14 and still get.
So you're saying they're worthless?
Yeah, pretty much. Because they're not useful for anything. Right? Okay, you can have a separate list of the WDF, and then whoever's at the top of the list gets a few $100 at the end of the year, and okay, that's great. But it's an organization that is sort of like, you get the impression that it should be worth something, like it should get you into the World Championship or something if you're the top American on the list. Well, no.
It gets you $100.
Why would it do that? Yeah. It gets you an invitation to the Winmaw Masters. And first off, there's like 14 Americans that have earned invitations to this tournament. It's one of the biggest tournaments of the year, steel tip wise. I don't know if it's the biggest, but it's one of the biggest. And I think it's an honor for an American to get invited to it, and I wish everybody the best going over there before I trash it. Okay.
Okay.
So Sandy Hudson and Marilyn Pop and DJ Sayers going. I think Joe Huffman's going. A bunch of people have invitations. The ones that the ADO, the 4 people that qualified in Texas to go, which I think was Joe Huffman, DJ Sawyer, a couple of other people. Tom Curtin and Tom Sawyer are going because they got hurricaned out last year. All those guys
earned it.
Well, yeah, everybody earned it, but they're getting their way paid. The people that get an invitation but that have to pay their own way, I'm not sure that they are going to go. I mean, who knows? But I wouldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't pay $1,500 to go into a tournament that's absolutely rigged. So well, it's rigged because there are like, you have to play your way into the top 16 through 500 people, and then half of the guys sit around and are already in the money without throwing a dart. Whoever's like the top 8 guys in the BDO. Well, we have no chance to be in the top 8 of the BDO because we can't play any BDO events here.
Right.
Right? So it's rigged in that sense where after you fight your way through all these guys, you're waiting for a guy that's just been sort of like hanging out in the sauna and practicing, and good luck with that. You know, I mean, it's just, it's rigged. Let's face it. So I'm mentioning this to one of the ADO guys, and I'm like, what do the people in England have to do to get in this tournament? I'm like, are you telling me there's a field of 500 people and they've all won a tournament to get in? He's like, oh, yeah, they've all qualified. And I'm like thinking, no, wait a minute. There aren't 500 tournaments a year that you could get all these people. So I went on the
You
BDO.
researched it.
I did. BDOdarts.com website and looked. And here the ironic thing was that if you go to BDOdarts.com and you look at what you need to do to get an invitation to the Winmau Masters, you can get one if you have perfect attendance at your league night.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I'm like, perfect attendance? Really? That qualifies you for the biggest tournament? No wonder the field's 500 people. I mean, you could literally, if Ann Sullivan takes Helen Keller every week, she's in.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I'm not sure her chances of winning are all that good, and she's going to, increase the odds of the field bet. But, I mean, come on. They had it in an ice rink last year.
I did not know that.
Oh, well, you got to catch up on some old
Yeah,
shows.
a little bit.
Hopefully they'll be back because they had a good venue the year before. And this tournament is kind of odd anyway.
Why did they choose to have it in an ice rink?
I don't know, something with the venue. And then they have issues with the BBC, which televises it. And it was also televised on ESPN3, which is like the European ESPN. And then they tried to stream it here live, but it was only certain cable providers that you could access it through, so I couldn't really see it, so I had to get a bootleg thing. And, we're watching. One of the Americans went deep. Jimmy Widmer went deep, got on stage on TV, and then I don't know if he missed as many doubles against me as he did against this Dutch dude. He'd never come close to beating me.
Right.
He had a rough time on the doubles. So let's take our first break. You guys are just going to hear dead silence. I'm not putting in anything, but give us a minute. We'll be right back. Also, if you click here, you can sometimes see if anybody's on there now. See, it's all old stuff. Okay. Anything worth?
You've already said that before.
We can't have Danny on the show. My coffee's getting cold. I wish I could go out and get some hot, fresh one in there. me come back. Bring a coffee pot in here. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
All right. Okay, and we're back.
Absolutely.
It was a good.
It was a good break.
The break that refreshes.
Yeah.
We are brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks to Redwood Darts and Windy City Fabricators. My annoyance with this whole Winmaw Masters thing is only increased by the absolutely lame response that I've seen to people who want to qualify for the United States World Cup team next year. There's like nobody. In order to do it, you have to go to a qualifier where 8 people kick in $110, and then the winner goes, right? There's like nobody. I looked on the ADO.
How many qualifiers are there?
Well, you can have them all over the place.
Oh,
so I looked on ADOdarts.com to see if there was one I could go to because we're running out of time. They have to be done by the end of the month. There's not one within 6 hours of here.
Right.
Apparently, there was one in Dayton last weekend. And there was one in Louisville the weekend before. Those were the closest ones. I tried to get one going around here. I mean, how many people around Chicago? Metropolitan area.
How many?
Yeah, ballpark. It's 7, 8 million.
Yeah.
Can't get 8 people.
Millions.
Can't get 8 people.
Yeah.
Can't get 8 people.
Well, of those 7 million people, how many
who
play darts?
Who want to play on the national team and represent the United States in the World Cup next year? 8. 8 is enough. So I like that show.
Right.
I like the original Mommy. She was like John Travolta's girlfriend or something and died of cancer at a very young age. It was very sad. Yeah, I'm looking at that and I'm like, what is wrong with this area when it comes to darts? I mean, there's plenty of people playing soft tip, around the city and in southern Wisconsin, but around Chicago, I am just like I don't even want to leave. Even the dart bars that have lots of dart boards, if you go in there, there's no one playing.
Nobody. No.
I mean, what happened?
I don't know. They lost interest.
Well, they want to have.
It was never really that competitive to begin with, was it?
Depends who you talk to.
Right.
I mean, I hear like the Windy City Open used to have 700 people in their blind draw. 12, 15 years ago, whatever.
Say 20 years ago.
The Brits used to come over. It was a PDC ranked event. So if you wanted to move up on the PDC money list, you'd come to Chicago and play.
Right.
And you'd have, I met Peter Manley. Phil Taylor had won it. That's the first time I saw John Part was in Chicago. Alan Warner, Roland Scholten. I mean, there are a whole bunch of pros that I met coming to Chicago. And now literally I can't get a game.
Right, but so what did they do?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna start ripping on the people that run darts in Chicago. Suffice it to say, it's pretty dead.
Right.
And I didn't kill it. So if you got the same people running things for 20 years and things are slowly going downhill and they don't want to put the brakes on and you're careening off a cliff and then they say it's not my fault, it's a board decision.
There you have it.
So blame the whole board. That's what I was telling these ADO guys. I'm like, look, if people don't agree with you, give me their names. Tell me who doesn't agree, and we'll put pressure on them.
Right.
And we'll try to change their minds. We'll try to persuade them. I'm not, literally, I'm not going to go out there and, deliberately try to embarrass somebody. But it's like, hey, here's somebody, and here's what they think, and I think they're totally wrong, and here's why I think they're totally wrong, and they're perfectly welcome to come on the show and discuss it with me, and I'll tell them the error of their ways, but they don't want to do it because, who wins an argument with me?
They know they're wrong.
Well, of course they're wrong. Let's do the Attendance Daily Organization National Rankings.
You've come up with a new name. I like it.
Well, since they fixed their diddling.
Right. It's now the Attendance Daily Organization.
The Attendance Daily Organization Top 10. So that's starting with Joe Huffman.
The Joe Huffman would be 10th, Robbie Phillips 9th, Tim Bagley 8th, Darren Young 7th, Gordon Dixon 6th, Joe Cheney 5th, Jim Widmeyer 4th, DJ Sayers 3rd, Tom Sawyer 2nd, and Larry Butler is leading that.
Yeah, and I have no idea how out of date these are because there's been a bunch of tournaments since. I don't think Nashville's on here. I don't think Stanford is on here. Even though we've managed to get the results to everybody, the ADO doesn't.
The ADO doesn't have them yet?
Doesn't have them, and I don't believe NAPTA's got them either. So the
So
probably
they
when
could
they
be a month
update them,
behind.
yeah, if they update them at the end of August, the NAPTA ones, you might see a lot of changes in this one because the points are pretty close. I mean,
Yeah.
Larry and Tom are kind of far ahead of everybody, but everybody else kind of grouped together between 8 and 3. So you'll see some movement there. Darren will move up, Gordon will move up, Cheney will move up, Robbie will move up, I think. I don't know. It's weird. See, the ADO doesn't count the Friday night singles.
Why not?
Because they're stupid. I don't know. Because I think their thinking is we're only going to rank 2 events a weekend. Now, why they would do it that way, I have no idea.
Which 2 events are there?
Well, whichever 2 they take the money for.
Oh, okay.
I think it's silly. I mean, it's like, because when you play an ADO sanctioned singles event, $2 of your entry fee for every person goes to the ADO. So if there's 206 people like there were in Stanford, that's $412 the ADO gets for
putting on
as
the tournament.
part of the fee.
Yeah.
As part of the fee for sanctioning the event, right? So why not sanction 3 events?
Right.
And if it gives some tournaments an advantage, well, then have the other tournaments run 3 singles. Have them run 4 singles. We don't really need, the 5-person where you have to have a Vulcan on your team, male or female. We don't need those events. I don't think we need them. I think people enjoy playing singles in the tournament. And then, the doubles and the triples. I mean, some people take it seriously, some people don't. I mean, I kind of go back and forth on it. So
depends on how you're doing for the week.
I don't know. I should probably
weekend.
take it more seriously than I do. But, sometimes I want to have some fun.
Right.
Part of the attraction of a tournament experience is actually getting to socialize with the people. If you don't want to talk to anybody, then you don't have to. But a lot of people enjoy socializing.
Yeah,
I do anyway. I'm not gonna whatever. I got a whole list of did you ever read Dan Jenkins?
No.
His daughter is a sports writer now. I think Sally Jenkins is on Sports Illustrated or something. He used to be one of the premier sports writers for Sports Illustrated, and he's written a bunch of great golf books. They're like novels. They're hilarious.
All right.
Dead Solid Perfect was his first novel, which, as a golfer, you should totally read. But anyway, one of the things I really liked about Dead Solid Perfect was it was about this guy who's playing in the U.S. Open, and he's kind of a journeyman pro with kind of a Lee Trevino background where he started out kind of as a hustler and stuff, and then started playing big time golf back when you could get on the tour and learn how to play on the tour, which you can't do anymore. Right. And I'm just gonna ramble, but one of the things that I've always remembered about this book is it's like a 2-page list, and the guy's name is Kenny Puckett. And he's like, Kenny Puckett's list of woes. And there's just a list of all the things that's bumming him out this morning. And it goes to 25 or 30 things. Right. Including he's constipated. And, he needs to find a new wife because he caught his wife cheating with somebody. And, he's got alimony and his car overheats, whatever. He's got this long. My list right now is very, very long. And it's almost all dart related.
Right.
So get this.
Are we taking care of any of that list here tonight?
Not really.
No?
I wanna go off on some people really seriously, and I'm really restraining myself.
Yeah,
because
I could tell.
There was one thing that happened that I heard about that turned out to be kind of a non-event, but absolutely infuriated me to the point of steam coming out of your ears like in a cartoon. So get this. No, I'm not going to go into that. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
All right, then.
Okay. Here's one thing, though, that we need to kind of figure out for America. And it starts out with this Gary Anderson getting suspended. And I showed you this thing where one of the top players in the PDC, he's got to be ranked, I'm thinking he's in the top 4. Certainly he's in the top 8. He's suspended by the Darting Regulation Authority. So here's the deal. The players put together a committee that is composed of players and tournament organizers, and I'm not sure if sponsors are involved. And if something happens, you go before this committee, and they determine your fate.
Yeah.
Right? So...
And they have a list of guidelines.
They have a list of guidelines, and it's published. You can get it on the internet and stuff. It also deals with drug testing and stuff like that. But 25 cases were brought before them, I believe, in the last quarter, of people violating Section 4.1 of the DRA rule. And Section 4.1 of the DRA rulebook, Code of Conduct, clearly states...
No player or member shall act in a manner which may reasonably be considered to injure or discredit the DRA or bring the game of darts into disrepute.
Okay. Let's read that one again so everybody gets this that's listening and, driving in their car. No player or member shall act in a manner which may reasonably be considered to injure or discredit the DRA or bring the game of darts into disrepute.
Right.
Which is a fancy way of basically saying, if you guys misbehave and make us look bad, you're going to pay for it.
Reasonably. It doesn't even have to be that big of a deal.
Reasonably.
Yeah.
Right. So now some of the cases that they're listing here, people leaving the hotel rooms in a disgusting state at a tournament. And there are people saying, well, this is like, what does anybody care? Let me tell you something, If it's hard enough to get a good venue. If the players are going to act in such a manner that the venue's going to not let you return, eventually you're going to have nowhere to play.
Right.
So it is a big deal.
Yeah,
I think.
Right.
There was a tournament, a famous thing in Chicago where there was a tournament, I believe it was a soft tip tournament, where they had like a pool in a courtyard and then all these balconies going up like 10, 12 floors, and people threw furniture off the balcony into the pool. Well, okay.
I'm betting they weren't going to have them back.
Hopefully nobody was in the chair when they threw it, but yeah, they were asked, or, either they were asked or, refused.
Right.
So they had to find another venue. And, if this happens, eventually, the prices go up.
Yeah.
Like in Virginia Beach, I know they had problems with this, that, or the other thing, and now they're saying that, people aren't going to be able to smoke on the balconies anymore, and they're going to raise the prices of the rooms and all this stuff to make up for extra staff they need to clean. Personally, I think that's bogus, and when you're in a town with 500 hotels and it's off season, I'm pretty sure if you shopped around, you can get a better deal.
Right.
I guess. I don't know. So, it's incumbent on everybody to kind of like at least behave to a certain minimum that doesn't like jeopardize the entire event, right?
Yeah.
But then there are other cases. You're throwing water on the fans, inappropriate behavior during a match, toward an official,
swearing on
camera and live TV, which on cable I thought that was encouraged.
Right.
Apparently it isn't. We don't have anything like this in America. And, so I'm reading this, and I'm kind of like, all right, we're on the half. Let me clear my throat. We'll be back in a minute. Give it to him. darktalk@gmail.com.
1 T or 2?
Say yes. You just typed it in.
Oh.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're back for the second half. Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks to Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. Yeah, where were we? Oh, we're talking about the DRA and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're fining people. The DRA will fine you if you don't chalk a match you're supposed to chalk, if you're not to the board on time, stuff like that.
Right.
Where our tournaments, I mean, there are some people that don't show up until they're third called. They make a habit of it. I don't know if it's gamesmanship or what. I don't think it's as much of a problem in soft tip as it is in steel tip, but you've got people outside smoking that can't hear board calls anyway.
Right.
But they kind of know, okay, well, I won. They're going to be calling me
Yeah,
pretty
you would
soon.
think.
I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't think it's been that bad this year, with the second calls and stuff. I think all the tournaments I've been to this year, they've been running them. They've been calling the matches, pretty well. I mean, if events start overlapping and it starts to where they can't call anything like happened on Sunday in Stamford, I mean, that's a separate story.
Yeah.
But I thought all the tournaments I've seen this year have been run pretty well. But we don't have anything like this. We don't have an authority for anything. Everybody's got their own little fiefdom. Every tournament is responsible for their own conduct.
Right.
And I believe on the soft tip side, it's like if you misbehave in the medalist tournament, you can still go to the NDA tournament, and if you misbehave in that one, you could still go to the bull shooter tournament. They don't seem to care
If you
about
misbehave at all.
anything unless you happen to support somebody else's machines.
Yeah.
Which
Then you
I
can't
am
go.
like, I wanted to really get into this because it really burns me up, and it points to how screwed up it is for dart players here when it's hard enough to get sponsors, right? Everybody's crying for sponsorship because if you get sponsorship, you can go to more tournaments, right? And here you have it where somebody finally gets a sponsorship and they're banned from a tournament.
Right.
And I looked into some of this.
Wouldn't the tournaments want as many people as possible?
Yeah, you would think. And, I was talking to somebody about it. Like, I remember talking to Lane Helgeson, who I believe was from Minnesota at the time, and he was telling me he was the first guy to ever get banned because he started with, I think it was Valley or something, and then Arachnid banned him from the bull shooter. And this apparently is common in soft tip, where if you're associated with a board manufacturer, then you can't play anybody else's board manufacturer's tournaments. And it strikes me as being completely and utterly stupid.
Right. I agree.
On the part of the board manufacturers. And we're talking about the Winmau Masters. This is a perfect example. There are people that are sponsored by Unicorn. Unicorn makes dartboards, and Winmau makes dartboards. There are people sponsored by Puma. Puma makes dartboards. Actually, they're all kind of made by like two companies.
Right.
Whatever. But anyway, what they do at the Winmau Masters is they say, look, you can play, but you can't wear your sponsor's logo on stage. Winmau is sponsoring the event, so you have to wear the Winmau logo. And you know that going in, and either you say yes to it or you don't play.
Or you don't go.
That's
That
fine.
seems fair.
But to ban somebody from a tournament because they were fortunate enough to get something out of a dartboard company that you wouldn't give them.
Right.
Okay? Like, take player X, signs with company B, and company A won't let him play in the tournament. Company A didn't offer him a sponsorship.
Right.
So company A is completely and utterly out of line, and this has been going on and on and on and on, and I don't see why it has to be this way. And what they're doing is they're hosing the best players in soft tip. I don't think it matters what country you're from. I mean, they're just, this is kind of like the policy, and it needs to end, and I'm not sure quite how to end it, right? Because nobody seems to be objecting to it but me.
Right.
Right? Everybody's just kind of like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, okay, well, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah,
And,
so
and
I
I'm
I
like,
can't go to that
this is
tournament, right.
freaking stupid. And if these guys were smart, and, I'm not a soft tipper, I'm not associated with any board manufacturer, and I don't even play in any leagues. So if the NDA doesn't like what I say, they can,
Right.
get in line. Or email darttalk@gmail.com
Yeah.
and let me know the error of my ways, and if I have any chance to mock you, I will.
There you go.
That's fair enough, right?
Sure.
I'm pretty open about that. I'll pretty much mock anybody. I think I've proven that. But it seems to me like incredibly stupid and incredibly short-sighted to be banning people from your tournament because a company gave them something you wouldn't give
Right.
them. Now, it'd be one thing if you were like, if they said, well, we'll give you the same deal. Then you could just go play a tournament, take a new deal, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's just not fair, and it doesn't happen in any other sport, right? It's not like Louisville Slugger sponsors the AAA Louisville team, right? And you can't use an Easton bat or whoever makes wood bats.
Right.
Oh, well, sorry, that player can't play on your team because he doesn't use our bats.
Yeah.
What is that?
He could play next weekend.
Nike sponsors, somebody's team, and a guy's got a contract to wear Adidas. He wears Adidas.
Yeah.
So you can't play in the NFL unless you use this, that, this, that, this, that. No. But what happens is the sponsors and the tournament organizers all get together and agree on the rules, right? But we don't have any central kind of thing for people to go to. Right?
Sure.
We don't have like a players association that, I can't really see this ever happening, but if all the players who had sponsorships agreed on a certain thing and then went to their sponsors and says, look, this is what we want. This is how it should be, and we want everybody's sponsorships to be respected and la-di-da-di-da, I don't see how people could say no to this.
Sure.
I've heard rumors of people that were nearly banned from certain tournaments because somebody didn't like what they put on their Facebook page. That was the thing that started this whole, I'm completely and utterly ready to, go postal.
Well, is it possible some people don't care because they're only going to play an X amount of tournaments anyway, so...
Lots of people don't care.
Right.
If all you do is play one soft tip tournament a year, how do you care about any of this stuff?
Yeah, because you're not going to play them anyway. You don't care what happens to other people.
But I did a little research, and the biggest soft tip tournament that I could find is the NDA tournament. It runs 9 days.
Wow.
Yeah, 9 days in Vegas. There's a couple events every day, which a 9-day tournament's a borderline insanity to begin with.
Especially in Vegas.
What's it going to cost you, $10,000?
9 days in Vegas. You're asking for trouble.
No, I mean, it's sort of insane. And so I did a little research on the NDA, and I was struck by how much money whoever put the NDA together is raking in. And I was astounded because what the NDA basically is it's a professional organization of soft tip vendors. That's all it is. And it's a way to centrally manage some of the efforts done by these vendors, and so they all kind of have uniform software and they run a uniform league, and the NDA will run their stats for all the vendors, and for that they're getting loads and loads and loads of money. They're getting 7 figures in revenue a year for running stats for what looks to me like maybe 100 different vendors.
Right.
And some of these vendors only have 6, 7, 8 machines. Some have more. And I'm astounded that somebody had the foresight to make this much money off of running stats, off of firmware. It's brilliant.
Oh, sure.
But I think now you could pretty much do without them in a split second. I think they're totally irrelevant. So I looked up what one person had done a breakdown of their last tournament, which is supposedly like, a $500,000 tournament. And he ran the numbers and stuff, and it turned out like the NDA doesn't put a dime into this tournament. All the money's coming from the players.
Really?
Based on their league fees, based on the coin drop, based on this, that, and the other thing. And nobody's making any money except the NDA. And I'm like, there's another tournament I won't mention that I've always said, I don't even want to play it. I think it's a ripoff.
Right.
Compared to your entry fee versus what you're playing for and your odds of winning, forget about it.
It doesn't make sense.
No, it's totally like, are you kidding me? And that was, everybody says I'm anti-soft tip and all this stuff. I think that their tournament structure with the money, everybody says there's more money in soft tip. I don't see it for the players.
Right. Just the vendors or the people running the tournament?
Well, look, if there's 100 vendors and there's an organization that runs the vendors' stuff and makes millions of dollars, yeah, there's money for them.
Right.
I don't see too many soft tip players making millions of dollars playing.
No. Even hundreds of thousands.
No, I don't see any. That's what I'm saying. So I've never really bought into like there's more money in soft tip, and this is not. I'm not bashing anything here. I'm just like saying, look, if you run the math on this stuff, there's got to be a better way to do this. So now the Dartslive thing, which is new, which are the boards I went up to check in Wisconsin, and I'm going to go play their tournament in September, is like a completely different paradigm. But we'll have to get into this more. I'm still trying to get a hold of some people to explain some of this stuff to me. But the idea that there's no central organization for the players to go to. See, that's how I got into this, because the vendors have their own little association that kind of takes care of everything for them, right? Sets up their tournament, does all this, does all that, so that the vendors in 50 different states have somebody, but the players don't have anybody, right? The players have nowhere to go. If a player feels that one of these, like if a player feels like Tournament A is not treating them well, what do?
Complain to you?
No, I mean, I'm not the complaint department for Darts in America.
No, I know.
Right? I'm just like, we're talk show hosts, right? But the idea here is that why don't we have something for the players that the players can go to, and something that has some teeth?
Right.
Right? A players association,
a governing board
that can intervene with things like this and get rid of some of these silly problems that hold the sport back from growing. If a tournament bans a player, don't tell me that that's going to make the tournament look good.
No.
I'm not going to start some nasty PR campaign. Well,
you might.
At least not today.
Right.
I mean, I was really tempted, though, to start, really ripping on some of these vendors, saying, how on earth do you consider yourself helping the sport of darts if you're banning the best players and at the same time you're taking quarters from everybody else? What are you doing but making a buck, and why should anybody patronize you?
Yeah.
Why should anybody patronize a businessman who's hosing everybody or hosing the top players and then, taking your money and going away? Now, I've heard vendors that are really good to players. They, when it comes to an NDA tournament, they pay their way. They pay their hotel. They pay their Air Force, stuff like that. Okay, I see that. Right? If they're going to take some of the money, because they're businessmen, they're entitled to a profit. I'm not anti-profit. I'm just saying, it seems to me the players are getting gouged by almost everybody, and you have nowhere to turn. It's like calling the phone company and getting voicemail, and then, after you go through the menu for 5 minutes, getting somebody who says they'll talk to a supervisor, and you get cut off.
And that's it.
Right? You see what I'm saying? I mean, that if we could address that, then maybe it wouldn't be a matter of I can't get 8 people to play in a regional. Maybe if there was some organization where players were treated well and there was a route of progression, there was somewhere to go, and if you had a problem, there was a way to resolve it. That would be great.
You could have a voice.
Yeah, that'd be great. Where is that?
Well, nobody's come up with it yet.
Well, we don't even have like this thing where there's a disciplinary committee.
Right.
So if you go to a tournament tomorrow and, take out a samurai sword and threaten the chalker and then put your samurai sword away, take out a slingshot and start, beep, 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 like shooting BBs at somebody on stage, right?
Yeah.
And they say, please don't do that. And it's the last tournament, and then you go somewhere else the next and do the same thing.
Right.
There's nothing to stop it.
There's no recourse to your actions.
Yeah. How are we going to grow a sport when we don't have any sort of standards to go by? If the standards are all local and the locals aren't even coming, maybe that's part of the problem.
It's possible.
Is that you don't have standards. This is where contraction comes in. All right, we'll talk about contraction. We'll take one more break. It'll just take a minute. We'll be right back. can't wait to see that. All right, yeah. Obviously, we can't look at it now. All right, and we're back for the fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter.
Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. I'm laughing at an email somebody sent. And just by the way, federal laws do prevent people from taking movies of people without their knowledge and stuff like that. I'm just saying. I'm not going to make a federal case out of it, but now that I have evidence, I would watch my step. No, we're talking about sanctioning, and we're talking about, having an organization.
Right.
Somebody mentioned Japan. I don't know much about Japan. All I know is what I think Gary Mawson told me. If you want to be a professional dart player in Japan, first you have to pass a test, like a skills test, where you have to go to a board and you have to do something.
Really?
And Mawson was like, it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
Like, it took them, some hours. And you can't play on their pro tour unless you pass, their skills test. And I'm kind of like, well, okay. I can sort of see that. Because, we're talking about, lengthening formats and stuff like that. And it only takes a couple of, really, kind of low-ranked amateurs to slow down a bracket. If you're playing best of 11, 501, and everyone else is out in 18 darts, and you got two people that are throwing 50 dart games, that bracket's going to be behind by an hour, and
Easy.
There's no catching up. So you're going to throw off the whole event. So, I mean, we said last week, we don't have a skill level in America overall to do best of 11. It would take too long. But
Yeah,
I could see why you would have standards
it's like
that.
Q school for darts.
Yeah. I mean, and it's an interesting. It seemed to me like it was fair.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll have to.
well, they're making everybody do the same thing.
Remind me if if we get John Kaczynski on the show in the next week or two to talk about his Toys for Tots tournament, we can ask him because I know he's done this.
Oh, okay.
He's done it. Mawson's done it. Scotty Kirchner's done it. A bunch of the soft tippers that play in the Far East have done it. And we can ask one of them exactly what the standards are that these guys are following. Because I think it'd be interesting, just as like an exercise. Anyway, the idea with contraction is that, and because things are so bad, participation-wise in Chicago, I've come to the conclusion, and I'm going back, I came to this conclusion maybe last year, that instead of knocking yourself out to try to come up with ways to get people to come, what you need to do is start discouraging the recreational players from coming at all.
Okay.
And make it really good for the players that want to be competitive and build from there.
Right.
Okay? You cannot make
limited
everybody...
to 80 people?
Yeah. You can't... It's a chicken or egg sort of question where everybody's like, well, what you should do is cater to the beginners. Yeah, because that's what Major League Baseball does.
Yeah.
Right? That's what the NBA does. They cater to the beginners. That's what every sport does. Is because on TV, what you want to see is four people playing doubles that spend 45 minutes trying to hit a single bull.
Yeah.
That's compelling. That's what you want to encourage. I mean, no. I mean, I'm all for having an instructional league, maybe 4 weeks, where new players are taught the game of 5-0, taught some of the etiquette and stuff like that, and then they could go play in their league.
Right.
I don't like the idea of new players being introduced to a league that has people that are playing in whatever lower level they have that have been in the lower level for a long time because they have bad habits and bad form and a bad notion of the game or
Don't care.
Yeah. And because the new players are going to be turned off, the players that potentially would have an affinity for the game.
Right. That's who they're going to first see throw.
Darts is a simple game. A little bit of hand-eye coordination, and off you go. I mean, you don't have to be a weightlifter. You don't have to be tall. You don't have to be wide. You don't have to be, rocket science
arms,
IQ.
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, everybody can play darts decent, and it doesn't take that much effort to be decent.
Yeah.
To get to be one of the top players, you're going to have to put the time in, get the board time in, get some experience and have some ability. But for the most part, it's not hard to be able to play a decent game of darts. I think it's easier than pool.
Oh, probably.
You know, it's
I would
easier
agree
to
with
be
that.
decent at darts than to be decent at pool.
Yeah.
You know, it's a simple game. I mean, you need to learn the game. I love going to this one dart bar and watching people that have never played before play. They see the scoreboard and they all come up with a different way of scoring cricket,
Right.
you know, because they don't know how. But, you know, they get the idea and they play and they get into it.
Right.
And it's like, it's fun competition for them. Admittedly, you know, a leg of cricket might take them an hour, but what do they care?
But they don't care.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll point out some stuff to them here and there. And, you know, some of them, if they see me throwing on the side, will ask me, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? I'm happy to help. But, you know, the idea somehow, if you could introduce people in the right way, I think, you know, that's going to help the sport grow. That's one of the things I think is great about soft tip is you get more positive reinforcement. I said this like, I don't know, like 6
Couple
weeks
months ago.
Yeah, after
Yeah.
the Dartslive thing. You know, but I prefer steel as from a purist standpoint of being a test of your ability as a player. I think steel does that better than soft hip.
Right.
Right. So anyway, that was my idea with contraction, though.
That makes sense.
Boil everything down
Yeah.
to the best possible core you have, and then build it back up.
Yeah.
For the leagues that are in trouble, you know, maybe you might want to consider this. You know, because a lot of the people that you're catering to aren't going to be around anyway.
Right. Yeah, they might play for a year or two, and then
Yeah, I mean,
Then
well, how much
you're looking
interest
for
did they
more.
really?
You're looking for to fill that spot again, and they're not out there.
Yeah, that's why I always said you should, you know, instead of having all these division levels of, you know, like
Right.
this one tournament had 15 different classifications, which is asinine.
15.
Asinine. Asinine.
I didn't even know there were 15
like
classifications.
I'm a 4 handicap. I can barely hit a dartboard, but I'm going to go to Vegas for 9 weeks and play a dart tournament.
Right.
And play other people that don't know how to hit a dartboard until I run across somebody who cheated to get in that division that actually can hit the dartboard a little bit, and then be all mad. And go to the pool or something, or the blackjack table.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, are you kidding me? How can that survive? I can't see that as a viable paradigm for growing a sport. But we did get yeah, what would a players union look like? If darts had a players union, what would it look like?
What would it look like?
We'd have
Well-
voluntary membership. You couldn't really charge a fee.
Right.
You'd have to get like maybe 5, 7 high profile players.
Well, yeah, you'd have to
that
determine how
play
big you
soft
wanted
tip.
it to be first.
Well, they play soft tip and steel. Get like, you know, a few of the bigger names that are, you know, well respected by everybody. You got to get somebody from every kind of region. And then how are they going to approach the tournament organizers? See, there's not one tournament like
Well,
you
it's the
can't
same
go to
thing-
the ADO. You can't have the union go to the ADO because the ADO will say, well, we don't have any say in anything that goes on into any ADO sanctioned tournament, right? So you'd have to go to all 50 tournaments individually. What a nightmare.
Yeah.
You know, with the soft tip, it's easier because there's only, you know, you just go to the NDA or you go to metal. You just go to the leagues, right? Or individual
So how do you
vendors. I mean,
how do you
I don't
draw up
know.
a code of conduct and
Copy the one that Britain has.
Right, just
and
use
change, you know, get rid of some of the weird spellings they have
Right.
where color has a U.
right?
You know, just, you know, fix that.
But then yeah,
add
how do you
some
get the
things.
ADO to subscribe to it?
How do you get the ADO to subscribe to it? Oh, we solved that last week. This is where we come up with our sanctioning thing and say if you follow these things,
Yeah.
you get double points.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And then one of the things would be that you have to get a sign-off from the players' union. And if the players' union doesn't approve of a tournament, then you're not allowed to play in it and be in the union. That's all.
Right.
That's the only way it would have any teeth. And that's going to hurt players if you do that. Right? It's going to hurt players. And I could definitely see people being like, ooh, well, I'll just quit the union. Then I'll go to the tournament. All the good players won't be there and I'll win. So, I mean, you'll have to, like, basically, you know, you're going to end up starting a war.
Put a big blow-up rat outside when.
Well,
people
think
are-
about it. Think about it, though. I mean, if it's like, if let's say manufacturer A doesn't want to go along with my idea that you're not banning anybody anymore.
Right.
You know, it's okay to say that they can't wear your business rival's patch in your building. Like, I don't really want to use any names, but let's say, like, you know, a Dartslive player goes to the bull shooter, which is Arachnid's. Arachnid will say, well, look, none of the Dartslive players can have Dartslive logos on their shirts, and then none of the Arachnid players can have Arachnid logos. When they go to a Dartslive, everybody's happy. We all get along. Life goes on.
Everybody gets to play.
Everybody's happy.
Right.
I don't know if Arachnid even sponsors players. And if they don't, they have absolutely no business banning somebody who does.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But, I mean, look at if they're going to put if one of these manufacturers wants to put their foot down and say, hey, you know what, we don't care, they're not coming. Now you got to organize a boycott.
Yeah.
To boycott this tournament. And that's not what we want to do. We want to grow the sport, not get rid of stuff. So it's a weird problem. We're going to have to talk about it some more because there's got to be a way to do this that it doesn't involve me
Put some more thought into it.
Well, it can't involve me doing any more work than I'm already doing. So no emails about me running a union or anything like that. I just give you the ideas and you guys run with it. I don't have time to barely do this show. How prepared am I this week?
Right.
Anyway.
I don't know. You seem pretty prepared.
Ugh, gosh, I don't feel prepared.
Decent idea what you wanted to talk about.
Well, it's just I don't know
and
how
what
things,
you didn't want to talk about.
I don't know how things evolved. You know, I wasn't around 20 years ago when all this stuff started.
You were
I
you
probably
were
would have been
around.
very well, I wasn't playing darts.
Oh.
I didn't know anything about it, but I don't think I'd have been too popular. Not that I'm popular now, but there was one thing I wanted to get to, which we'll have to table for next week. But let's give everybody a taste of what it is. It was an interesting question that a guy, Steve Millman, posted. And I thought it was excellent. It says, hey, folks, what advice would you give a newcomer wanting to learn and master darts properly and effectively?
It's a good question.
Excellent essay question. And it echoes something that another guy had emailed Dart Talk a couple weeks ago that I didn't get back to. A guy I was talking to in Tennessee because I was talking to a woman from New York who was kind of just starting darts. And she was saying, oh, well, I practice and I do this and I do that. And I was like, well, that won't do you any good.
Right.
She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, here's my take on this and how I go about practicing and la-di-da-di-da. And there seems to be the practice tips were popular, the tips for the time challenge. So next week, we are going to introduce, now you might take notes on this. You're going to have to
write
me
this down.
Because this is a promise we'll have to keep.
Right.
We are going to introduce the official Dart Talk practice regimen for beginners.
Okay.
And it'll be a step-by-step way of introducing new or fairly new players to the game of darts and our best advice into how to improve
and be successful
as quickly as possible. And by quickly, I mean by
much time
maximizing the time you spend playing.
Right.
That's our promise for next week.
All right.
And it may take more than one episode to get to, but I have a lot of notes on this, and I've been talking about it with people for a long time, so we may as well go on the record on the show with it.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Sound good?
Yeah.
Got anything?
So are you not playing anywhere this weekend?
Well, no, but no.
No.
Well, I may practice on the side.
All right. Well, let's
because
scratch that question.
Yeah, because I don't want to get into the whole thing where we were keeping stats. And
all right.
Yeah, okay.
So
no, I'm playing really well right now.
Right.
My practice.
But so you're not
sessions
playing
have been
for 2
going
weekends in a row then?
No, I'm going to play. I'm good until Atlantic City. I'm going to play the PDC in Atlantic City. That is the weekend after Labor Day.
Oh, all right.
Labor Day, there's a tournament. There's a tournament in somewhere around D.C. that I'm pretty sure I won't be going to, but that's really, really tempting as a warm-up for Atlantic City. And then there's a tournament in September, the week before Dartslive Asia. So September is going to be busy. So I got a little bit of a hiatus this week.
It's probably good.
I don't know. I mean, the schedule's out of control this year. I mean, we don't even have an off season anymore. Our only off season is December. Between like New Year's or Thanksgiving and New Year's.
Right.
That's the only off season. It's a long season. It's turning into tennis.
Yeah.
That's why we need to have these majors. We need to. That's the other thing. We have to identify what the majors are for
majors.
next year.
All right.
So 4
Tips
majors.
for the beginners and
and
majors.
you know what? Whether or not you're sanctioned for WDF has absolutely no bearing on whether you're going to be a major. Oh, by the way, anybody who thinks because it's a WDF event, anybody should care is wrong and will remain wrong forever. If you're NAPTA sanctioned, that's different. I'm thinking.
There you
I'm
go.
thinking if you're a NAPTA
right.
sanctioned event, that's got to be one of the criteria for being a major. If you have like Nashville, I'm thinking Nashville's going to have to be a major. They had NAPTA singles on Saturday, and then they had a WDF ADO singles they had a NAPTA singles Friday, a WDF, and a ADO singles Saturday and Sunday. So they kind of had everybody covered.
Yeah.
And it was a $20,000 tournament. I'd have to consider that a major, or something that does as much for you as that.
Right.
So some tournaments are probably going to be disappointed. They're going to have to get on the ball. They'll have to get double points by going through the sanctioning process. Yeah. Right, something like that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there'll be a tournament out there. They'll call it the 5th major, the one that just couldn't make the list.
I don't know. Next year is going to be really difficult, and I wonder. This U.S. team regional participation is so lame. And I'm wondering, there's only so many tournament players, and there's only so many tournaments people can go to, unless you're chasing the perfect attendance award, like, a couple of people might be. But outside of that, you can't go to every single tournament. And then this one's in Colorado, which is automatically disqualifies you for being a major if you're going to be playing it at altitude. No. It's like, have you ever played in Colorado? Ever hit a golf ball in Colorado?
Well, I've hit a golf ball.
They go mucho far.
Yeah. I've never thrown a dart in Colorado, though.
Throw a dart. Dart go far. No, seriously. It's like you're going to have a major competition based on playing something at altitude. It's asinine. Why would you do that?
Well, we won't. We just won't do it.
How do you come up with this? Who's in charge? All right, let's just stop.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm very cranky today. And a lot of people got off the hook, I'll have you know. I've been a very good boy today.
Yeah.
The DRA's got nothing.
It's a good thing we only have an hour.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks to the dartzone.com. Don't forget, if you go to the dartzone.com, stock up on your pink shafts and flights so you can use them for the month of October, for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Got anything?
No, I think that'll about do it. Wrap it up.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. We will Dart talk to you next week. Safe travels, everybody.